Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice of The Wandering Investor. So today I'm in Colombia with my Colombia-based attorney Alan, and we'll be discussing the use cases of creating a local Colombian company. So Alan, I'm sure you have a lot of people, you help people with their real estate transactions, get residency, all of that. I'm sure you have a lot of people, especially North Americans. Typically Europeans don't ask this question, but should I create a local company to purchase real estate?
Got it. So we get this question all the time. So the answer is you can certainly start a local company that would be the owner of the local property. But we have found that it's probably not the most tax efficient way to invest. I don't want to get too into the weeds. It just makes things much more expensive and unnecessary. So if you're looking to get the benefits from owning via an entity, you might want to consider registering a foreign entity, right? So maybe an LLC, some Incs, Canada, even Europe could work. You can have that foreign entity buy the property in Colombia. You can therefore gain all the benefits of ownership, limited liability. You can sell ownership interests fairly easily, on and on and on, and avoid some of these complications in Colombia.
Cool. And I think what's important to understand, especially for North Americans, is that you're a lot less likely to be sued if something goes wrong in your rental property compared to the US. So if someone's drunk, falls off the balcony, if someone tries to sue you over this, it's probably not going to get them very far. So the fact of the matter is it's a lot less risky to own assets in Colombia in your own name than in the US, than in Canada.
Yeah, I'm from New York. We're super litigious. And what I do in my business, those of us who are American, we use litigation as our business strategy, or at least a component of business strategy. That doesn't happen in Colombia that often. It's not a very litigious society.
And generally speaking, Colombia is quite bureaucratic and the taxes are relatively high. So you don't create a company in Colombia as an, offshore company. You just don't do this. You create a company here in Colombia when you want to move to Colombia and you want to conduct actual business in Colombia, and that's a way for you to obtain residency. But there's an increasingly interesting use case for which people create companies in Colombia that a lot of your clients have been going through.
The way I see it is that every jurisdiction has its sort of strength. So places like Panama are places where financial instruments and financial investment and offshore companies make sense, right? But in Colombia, that strategy doesn't make sense. There's just regulatorily, from a tax perspective, it makes no sense. But there's one huge strength in Colombia, and that is the low cost of labor. So that's the reason, and it's not even recent, it's been going on for decades now. A lot of foreign companies from the States, from Canada, they're looking to places like Colombia to start a company where they hire local talent, and that talent is exported to their businesses in the US, for example. The example I always use could be, tech development. It could be, any number of these businesses that rely on foreign talent. The whole point
or just a call center.
Which is the call center, exactly. The whole point there is where you have a US-based entity, for example, you're marketing to your clients, you're selling services to your clients, you're booking profits locally. You're not booking profits in Colombia. You don't want to do that. You want to be in a position where you minimize the activity that you engage in Colombia so that you're tax efficient. So all that stuff is happening, for example, in the US, in the UK, in Europe. But what you're doing is you're hiring your local company to provide services to your foreign company. And if you structure it in a certain way, because of the low cost of labor, suddenly your margin shoots up. So if you're making $200 a month and your fixed expenses are $100, if you plan it right, if you structure it correctly in Colombia, you can bring that $100 fixed expense down to maybe 20. And suddenly your margin goes way up. So that's been a really popular way for foreign investors to, number one, obviously take advantage of getting a visa, right? So this export of services format lends itself probably better than starting a local business to getting a visa. But number two, if you have an existing business, you can just take advantage of this to actually make even more money. I would say a good portion of our clients come to us saying, I need a visa. And we explain this and they go, really? And then 6 months from then, they're like, wait a minute, I'm actually now enjoying a better business situation, but that wasn't my main focus. Does that make sense? Like they come for one thing and then suddenly they're in a much better business situation because they restructured the way they actually manage their business.
So they get a free visa or residency out of it.
Yep.
They save a lot of money. They get to spend time in Colombia.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Big time.
it's just 360 all around good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's not that expensive. Like overall, like the setup is not, I mean, it's not expensive. So it's a really good situation for clients.
So give us an example of approximate labor costs. So let's say I want someone just for a service call center, just to answer customer queries, that speaks English really well.
Right.
That's been to university. How much should I expect to pay per month roughly?
Right. So in terms of expenses for a profile of, someone who has a university degree, is fairly bilingual, maybe starting out, you're probably looking at maybe just over $1,000, $1,200, the total cost of the company per employee. Okay. Now you compare that to what it would be in the States to hire someone, Canada, whatever, like it's not even close. Yeah. All right. And then again, we're using this example, but we have clients who manage accounting companies. We have law firms in the States where we've set up their export of services company in Colombia, and they hire local attorneys to provide part of the services they offer in the States, for example. So it runs the gamut.
And look, it may be more expensive than India or the Philippines, but there are a few advantages. One, culturally, Colombians are quite attuned to North American culture, so they understand clients a lot more. So that's one. Two, especially when you're in client-focused businesses, the people don't really get triggered by the accent, which is an issue in a lot of other jurisdictions. Three, the time zone is the same, so you don't have employees that you're making work in the middle of the night, like in the Philippines. And then four, whenever you want to do team building, come and meet your team, well, guess what? It's a short flight away from North America. So, you may save $300-400 by going to India or the Philippines, but it's probably not worth it.
Plus you get a visa. This is all an entire structure, an edifice that gets you so many benefits. That's the reason, at this point, probably 30% of our business is focused on this, because it's literally everything we just talked about.
So tell us about the brochures on this topic that you have.
Sure. So we have very comprehensive brochures that explain the process, not only of starting a local business that sells into the Colombian market, but also this particular structure, which is exporting services, which is its own sort of structure, its own sort of edifice. Just nooks and crannies of things that have to kind of be focused on to make it work. And we have a ton of materials about how to hire employees, employee obligations, OSHA for us, for those of us who are American. In other words, occupational health and safety obligations are becoming bigger in Colombia. We have probably over 12, 13 brochures just on how to make this work. So we can certainly provide those to any of your clients.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alan. So there's a link below. You can get in touch with Alan, and then he'll send you all of the brochures. Alan,
good to see you, man. Absolutely. And good to see you guys.
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, link below. And feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.